2 years after the release of Insidious, we got a follow-up, Insidious Chapter 2. This film has completely split people. People either really liked it or loathe it. The first film received good reviews from critics, whereas the second received mixed to negative reviews. So, my opinion, I personally really liked this film. Yeah, this film is nowhere near as scary as the first film. In fact, I wouldn't really call any of the film that scary at all. But it does a great job of expanding the story and mythology of the first movie, and it creates an interesting backstory. We find things out about some of the characters that we previously didn't know, and it's one of those movies that now watching the sequel will make you watch the original with different eyes. The plot is kind of hard to explain, but I'll try my best to do it. The film starts off with a flashback to 1986 where we see Elise trying to find out what it is that is haunting John. This scene is essentially just showing us something that we were told about in the first film but never actually saw. We then go forward to literally straight after the first film. The movie links together perfectly. Renee is told by the police that Josh is the lead suspect in the death of Elise. Because of the picture, she believes that Josh's body is inhabited by the old woman. Josh seems really suspicious and weird things start happening around the house again, but when Renee questions Josh, he tells her to stop being paranoid. To get answers, Lorraine goes to Specs and Tucker. They show her an old videotape of Josh with a spirit standing behind him. They go to a man called Carl who decides that they need to contact Elise from the afterworld to get answers. They are directed to an old abandoned hospital where Lorraine used to work. She remembers the story of an old patient called Parker Crane, so they go to his house to investigate more. When they go to his house, they discover it wasn't Elise who told them where to go, it was Parker's mother. They discover a secret room full of corpses, a black wedding gown, and newspaper clippings about a killer called the Bride in Black. Lorraine tells Renee to get her and the kids away from Josh. Carl goes to drug him because he discovers that Josh is possessed by Parker, but Parker incapacitates him. He also incapacitates Specs and Tucker when they come to help. Carl awakens in the spirit world where he sees the real Josh. They go to find Elise and the three of them go to get Parker out of the body of Josh and get Josh back in there. The film has a rather complicated plot, which for me is the biggest problem with it. I like the fact that it expands upon the mythology, and it's interesting to see everything given a backstory and for them to explain the cliffhanger at the end of the first movie. But what made the first movie so good was not its story. The story was really interesting and it did add something to the film, but what made it so good was how scary it was. It was full of atmosphere and tension, something that this film pretty much completely lacks. It's not completely gone, and there are some scary scenes in there, but for the most part it seems that all the scares are from jump scares. Luckily there aren't loads in there and none of them are false jump scares, which makes it definitely better. The film works more as an expansion of the first film. There are some really interesting things in the film and I wouldn't call it completely dull or pointless. The film is definitely enjoyable, I just would have preferred something a lot scarier than what we got. I also like the fact that this movie actually does some new things, so it isn't just a complete retread of the first movie like I was expecting it to be. It just needed more scares, atmosphere and suspense. It lacks what made the first film scary. I enjoyed the film, but it's far from great. I give Insidious 2 a 7 out of 10.